hung them inside the U.S. Hart office building, the Senate office building. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report, as we go now to the government's no-fly list, which reports indicate has roughly doubled to 8,000 names since the failed bombing attempt on a Detroit-bound flight last Christmas. People on the list can't fly to or from the United States or over U.S. airspace. Well, the American Civil Liberties Union, the ACLU, has filed a lawsuit against top Justice Department and F.B.I. officials on behalf of 10 Americans and legal residents on the government's no-fly list. 5 of them remain stranded overseas. 3 are veterans. Not one of the 10 people named in the lawsuit has been given any information about why they're on the list or a chance to clear their names. I'm joined here in New York by 2 people. Adama Bah is one of the plaintiffs in the case. She's 22 years old. She's a citizen of Guinea and was granted political asylum here in the United States, where she has lived since she was 2 years old. She fought against being sent back to Guinea, where she faced female genital mutilation. She found out she was on the list last year when she was trying to fly to El Paso. We're also joined by Ben Wizner, staff attorney with the ACLU National Security Project. We welcome you both to Democracy Now! Ben, start off by saying what you found and who these 10 people are.
Well, as you said, the list has expanded dramatically since the 25th of December, since that failed attack in Detroit. And although the government tells newspapers that the list is 8,000, we have to understand that the impact of that is vastly magnified, because that includes the 8,000 individuals on the list and the many, many, many thousands more who have names that are similar to those people. So I think that saying that it's 8,000, even though the number is way too large, probably understates the problem. We at the ACLU have been contacted by so many people who find themselves in this situation. They show up at an airport. They are denied boarding. The government will not confirm or deny that they're on a list, will not give them any reason for why they can't board, will not show them any evidence for why they can't get on these flights. The only recourse that someone like Adama has is to go to a government website, to put in her name, and hope that some bureaucrat somewhere will correct a mistake or maybe change his mind about the situation. As you said, some of our plaintiffs are American citizens who are stuck overseas, who have been placed literally into exile by their government by virtue of a secret government blacklist.
And the 10 people you're representing, the veterans? 3
of the plaintiffs of these 10 are veterans of the Army, Air Force, and Marines who now find themselves in this situation. I think there's been this general freak-out in the government since December 25th, and the attitude must be, dump them all on the list, we'll sort it out later. We can't let anybody get through who might conceivably present a threat. But remember, even if you're charged with a serious crime in this country, you're told what the charges are, you're given a lawyer, you're given a chance to object and defend yourself. These people have absolutely no legal recourse whatsoever.
Adama Bah, explain what happened to you.
Well, the first thing that happened is I went to check in, and they said, see a ticket agent. So I stepped up to a ticket agent, and immediately they got on the phone. They called security. So many people came, but nobody told me why I was on the list or how to get off the list.
Which airport did you go to?
LaGuardia Airport.
LaGuardia?
Yes.
And what exactly happened when you went there?
When I went there, I just went to the ticket agent, showed her my ID, she typed in my name, and just got on the phone. And from there on, TSA was coming in, federal agents, Homeland Security, but nobody's telling me what's going on. Why am I on the list?
Well, Adama took out her cell phone and called me because I had been helping her with another matter. I jumped into a taxi and said to her, don't speak to anyone until I get there. When I arrived at the airport, we got there just before an FBI agent and a member of the Joint Terrorism Task Force arrived. We all went into a private room where a really extraordinary scene unfolded. Even with a lawyer at her side, they would give her no information. Instead of telling her why she was on a no-fly list, they asked her why she thought she was on a no-fly list. They asked her to give names of people who she was associated with, who they might be interested in speaking to. And I said, absolutely not. She will answer questions if you have specific questions. But this is a fishing expedition for incriminating information about other people. This is not how it's going to work. And I just wonder what happens in those rooms when there isn't an ACLU lawyer sitting next to the person on the list.
Adama, many people may remember your story and not remember it's you, the person who's speaking here today. But explain what happened to you, how you got political asylum in the United States.
Well, I came to this country when I was 2 years old with my mother, and when I was 16, I was detained for immigration reasons. I didn't know I was illegal, so that's when I found out. After 3 years of battling, I got an asylum in 2007. I wore an ankle bracelet for 3.5 years.
Wait, explain why you got the political asylum, what it was you faced in
Well, I got the political asylum because in my country, they circumcise women. So.
And you were afraid if you went back,
Yes,
this would happen to you as it did to all the women members of your
all
family.
the women in my family have gotten done, even my mother.
Why did you wear an ankle bracelet?
They wanted to track my immigration. I don't know.
And so you wore that for... Now, going back to an article in 2006, Young Woman Fears Deportation and Mutilation from the New York Times by Nina Bernstein. Adama Bah's schoolmates were jubilant when she returned to 10th grade at Heritage High School in Manhattan in May 2005 after 6 weeks in a distant juvenile detention center. Her release put to rest the federal government's unexplained assertion that Adama, a popular 16-year-old who wore jeans under her Islamic garb, was a potential suicide bomber. But a year and a half later, with many of her friends planning proms and applying to college, Ms. Bah, now 18, this was a few years ago, was still wearing an electronic ankle bracelet and tethered to a 10 p.m. government curfew, restrictions that were conditions of her release. This is when you were still facing deportation.
Yes.
But today, you're 22 years old. Why were you going to El Paso?
I was just going to travel to take a vacation. It was 3 years on ankle bracelet. My ankle bracelet was taken off. I just wanted to take a vacation.
Did you think you were off this list?
The thing is that I flew before to Florida, so I didn't think I would be on a list. So when I went to travel to El Paso, that's how I found out.
Ben Wizner, how do people find out they're on the list unless they go to the airport, and what are the ways you can get off the list?
Well, you can't find out unless you try to fly, because there's no government source of information that will confirm or deny. I suppose you could try to be clever and buy a fully refundable ticket and see if you're able to print out a boarding pass at home. But that's really the only way that you could find out, because the government